welcome. Another episode of our Footy Fantasy podcast. I guess it's the London Derby, Arsenal Chelsea review. And for this one, we had to bring out the big guns, the big dons. The Arsenal guest, Toby, it's been a while. I think it's your first time this year, right? On the pod?
Yeah, I think it's first time this year. I crashed one of your calls though with Samuel. I don't know if that was this season or last season.
The preview. The Arsenal preview. You crashed it. I remember that.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, Toby.
Anytime.
The OG Gunner. That's what I'll call you. Prize Lord, Chelsea fan, regular guest, regular member, unofficial member, Size Lord, Chelsea fan.
What's good?
Okay, before we go into the topics, YouTube, Footy Fantasy, let's do quick admin. We're still trying to grow, road to 500. Twitter, Footy 80 Fantasy, road to 1.5K. Instagram, Fantasy Footy. Like, share, subscribe to all our socials while you're here. Chelsea Arsenal review. Lots of things to talk about here. Very interesting game. Ended 2-2. I probably should let me even update that while we talk about this. Chelsea's the home team. Dada, I have some talking points, but I'll let you guys give your quick thoughts. Let's start with the home team. Dada, how did you see that game yesterday?
Man, you know what? It's not even a game of 2 hours. It was more of a game of 4 quarters, and I think Chelsea dominated 3, and then Arsenal won. I'll start off with coming into that game. You know, as a fan, you're very optimistic about your team's performance. But I think in the past few years, let's not kid ourselves, the pendulum has swung towards Arsenal as sort of the dominant team in that feature. So you really, a lot of Chelsea fans were probably expecting maybe, an Arsenal win with a decent Chelsea performance. But in the first 15 minutes of that game, it was quite clear that, this was not going to be the same narrative as we've seen in the last 2 meetings of both teams. So after the penalty, it was really looking like, okay, Arsenal would have to do a lot to get back into the game. I thought Pochettino got his team selection right. He set the team up properly. It caught up the channels on the wings that Arsenal really relied upon. And then Chelsea really controlled the midfield, right? So, for the better part of the game, Saka was almost not in the game at all. And I think that was due to how, Pochettino really set up the team on the flanks, making sure that Cucurella tracked back properly and had Saka in his pocket. So overall, tactically, I was really pleased with what I saw. I was pleased with the performance. We did well in the midfield. Caicedo did a good job of tracking back, really protecting the back four. So, from that perspective, Chelsea really, I'll be honest, I was really surprised about how well we showed up. So overall, I thought, everything was good. And then when we're 2 go up by, the fortuitous cross from Modric, I felt like Chelsea should have scored another goal to really, close up the game. And that really highlights one of our flaws is, in the goal scoring position. There were some opportunities that we had that a blind Haaland or even an injured Gabriel Jesus would have scored that to make it 3-0 and it would have been game over, right? So we didn't take our chances when we needed to. But, overall, I don't want to sound like old Arsenal fans that take pride on performances because that's always been their mantra. So I'm not going to go there. But to a certain extent, it was a good performance from Chelsea. Ideally, we should have taken the 3 points. But, really that game, even though it's a draw, it very much felt like a defeat. But I'll pause there and I'll let Toby make his point.
Before Toby makes his points, everybody out there, 3 points, hold tight the 3 point collectors. Very few teams collected 3 points this week. So, Toby, let's hear from the Arsenal.
Thanks. If you didn't collect 3 points against the 20th team in the league, when will you collect 3 points? But let's leave that aside.
Hey, collected 3 points. That's what matters.
Yeah. Anyway, I think I don't necessarily disagree with everything that I said. I think some of it was correct, and it's all about how you see football, right? So, for me, I see. So, take a step back. When I started watching the game, I was out, so I missed most of the first half. So, caught the second half, and then I went back and I watched the entire game again. There's a lot of echo. I watched the entire game again later on with no stress. Like, let me go back and watch this game because I knew I was coming on this podcast. A couple of things were clear. I think Pochettino's got his tactics spot on in the first half, which was, I am going to gum up this midfield and not have a striker. Yes, Palmer was supposed to be a striker, but he wasn't up front. No. And I'm going to deny Arsenal their passing lanes. And I'm going to have a lot of ball carriers so that when Arsenal loses possession, I have people that can run with the ball. And so that physicality of folks who could run with the ball, if you look at Chelsea's players, Gallagher I call players like Gallagher, like they have they're very, very mobile.
Yeah.
Fernandes, mobile. Caicedo, mobile. Sterling was very mobile. Palmer too was very, very mobile. But the point was you had athleticism in the center of the park, and you were like, and then you had a man advantage because there was no striker, right? It was basically strikerless for the first half. And so I think Arteta, and credit to Pochettino for setting up a team that way, but I think that Arteta should have seen that from like the first 5 minutes and made a change. We went to what we've not done this season, which is remove Rice from the midfield, our most dominant player that can win the ball back, put him in a left 8, and play our slowest player, Jorginho, as the lone 6, hoping that Zinchenko can come and help him. You put Jorginho and Zinchenko in the middle of the pitch against runners like Gallagher, Caicedo, Fernandes. There's only one winner, especially when you have the man advantage and you drop Palmer in there to win the ball. So for me watching that game, I was like, okay, it's obvious what's wrong. Like they have a man advantage in midfield, and you have your slowest player like Jorginho, which you're hoping he can play the ball forward, and he did a few times. But the point was the battle was a physical running battle, and Arsenal had left all their runners off the pitch or put them in the wrong positions. So I felt that was a tactical win from Pochettino, but also Arteta, yes. But obviously Chelsea came out with, this was a derby for them that they were like, we're not going to lose. We are going to come all out. And Arsenal was still on World Cup or international break. I can list all the Arsenal players that didn't even show up at all. And there are a lot of them that were not ready for that intensity. And what we know about the league is every game is, if you're not 100% winning those second balls, you're not there. It doesn't matter how talented you are. You're not going to have the space to play. So kudos to Chelsea for bringing their vibrant legs into midfield and gumming up the works. And that's literally what happened. And then obviously the penalty call is questionable. I don't want to be one person that harps on it. I think by the letter of the law, you wouldn't complain. But I've seen a lot of players come out and say, if that's what the penalty is now, then, everything is almost going to be a penalty. And so the problem is the way the law is written. Sorry, what did you say?
I said it was a play on ball.
It was
like he stretched it. It's almost like volleyball. He stretched his hand.
Okay, let me finish. I let you talk. So he jumped for the ball. His hand was literally the same place where Modric's hand was. There's literally a screenshot that shows Modric heading the ball with one hand like this, and this guy dropping one hand like this. And so, to me, I didn't complain when it happened. I was like, it hit his hand. But whether there's a question of handball and penalty, two different things. The ball can hit your hand if it's not in a natural position, and it's not a penalty. So yes, it did hit his hand. Nobody's denying that. But the reason why the ref or the linesman didn't give it is because they felt it wasn't worthy to be called a penalty. Now, VAR is rewriting the rules, and they're going back to look at certain incidents, and certain incidents they're not looking at. To me, it didn't matter, right? Fine, Chelsea went a goal up. But all in all, to me, it didn't really change the game. I mean, there was a similar penalty that was given, I think, yesterday. So if they're going to be giving that, defenders are going to go figure out what they need to do. And so for me, it was Chelsea came up with a good plan, stopped Arsenal from playing. Arsenal were not ready. Our formation and our personnel, whatever tactics Mikel had in mind, it was clear it was nullified by Chelsea, the formation Chelsea played, and we didn't react quick enough to change anything till the 75th minute, where we said, okay, Rice, go back into the middle, and took Odegaard, who was on vacation, who didn't do anything off, right? So for me, it was just we didn't start the game right. Chelsea started it correctly. Kudos to them. Kudos to Pochettino. Good tactics, and ultimately, I think a draw was more than fair to Chelsea because they had 2 fluke goals, and we'll take it a draw away from home in the London derby where we didn't play our best. I'll
Was
take
that
it.
a dig?
I will spank
A
them.
draw
We'll
was
spank them
fair to Chelsea?
we'll spank them properly when they come to the Emirates. It's not a big deal. It's fine. We're good.
And then you spank us properly, and then you be on your way to winning the title. Congratulations.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's a point away from home. It's not every season we beat Chelsea home and away. We did it last season. For any player to just think you have a right to win a game, that's why I don't understand some Arsenal fans. I'm like, you do realize there's your position who has to play to you. And sometimes the opposition is going to make it hard for you, or sometimes they're going to be better than you. So for me, this season, that's the point I would take. I wouldn't have taken it before the game if you look at Chelsea's form. But if you look at Chelsea's players, I was one of the people that told people, like, look, you have Caicedo and Enzo in the midfield. That's the running battle. And we didn't set up with runners till later on.
Okay, Henry, Arsenal fan, Henry. I think I muted you already, so you can.
Yeah.
I saw you shake your head when you was talking about the handball, so it seems like you have different opinions. So tell us another opinion you have.
Yeah, so my opinion. So you want me to talk about that incident or just overall?
Overall, you can
Okay,
do.
so I'll just first talk about the incident. The incident is that both of them have a point. Toby has a point. Dada has a point. I think Toby's point is that the hand, because he was jumping. Hardly is it that you're jumping to head a ball that your hand, you wouldn't use your hand sort of like for support. So with that point, Toby's correct. Now the point probably Dada is making is it's not a natural position where your hands should be. But again, these are all subjective. There are nuances to this, right? In that instance, if you're jumping as a defender, you're jumping. I mean, hardly will you see any defender that is jumping and then the hands are not up. Anyways, it is what it is. Yesterday's game, I think, was a little bit tricky. I just think Arsenal were very sloppy, and I want to tie that to probably the break. You saw Arsenal misplaced passes, very unlike us. They were very lethargic in midfield. I also think, Pochettino just sort of outmaneuvered or outcoached Arteta with the way, the selection of his players. Because that midfield, we didn't hold up to par with that midfield. They used a lot of their wings. To me, I don't even think Saka too was ready to come back to that game. I think we should have just benched him, give him another, and then use someone else. Yes, it will have been a good day to actually probably play Jesus on that right, and then maybe who's Nketiah to play that 9, and maybe bring in Reece Nelson as sub. But I think that wings and the midfield is really where the game was yesterday, and they outplayed us, and that's why they had really, really good outcomes. Now, with that said, I'm happy with Arsenal's resiliency. It's habits like this that, makes champions. I know we're not champions there because
that's why you guys will win the league, right?
That's probably going to give me the
That was a league-winning performance. So congrats in advance.
It's not. No, I mean, we beat Man City a week before. Those are the type.
Exactly. Yeah, you beat Man City, the league winner. Came up 2-0 against Chelsea. I mean, if you guys don't win the league this season, I'll be floored.
I didn't say we will win the league. There are still about 2 teams that have significantly better players than us. But what I assure you though is Arsenal is coming of age, right? It's not the old.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's not
like
the
you
old
guys did last
Arsenal of 8 years, 7 years.
Can you mute that as Mike? He's interrupting too much, please.
Why not? Speak. A couple of years ago, you say we're a selling club. They will have come shopping at Arsenal, garnished all our players. We're not into that anymore. Things have changed. But that's my take. That's my take, though. I liked how they showed up. Showing that resiliency towards the end of the game. And I hope they can just fix and rectify the whole issue in the midfield. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Harry, for calling. Right. So my thoughts. I'll say my thoughts. I think everybody has kind of hit on everything. The one thing I want to talk about, I think Toby mentioned Right. I think in possession, Arsenal I'll talk tactics. And tactics is boring to a lot of people, but in possession, Arsenal do this thing where they push Rice away, especially when they play teams who have very well structured press, right? So I think that was an intentional thing by pushing Rice to the left 8, because Rice is not really good playing back to goal, right? He's not a press resistant DM. He's the other side of things. Always good at like progressing the ball, winning tackles, but in possession, out of possession, he's supposed to come back in. I think there was some miscommunications there because out of position, Rice was supposed to come back in centrally, but he kept getting caught on the wing, unlike in the Man City game. Because in Man City, they were doing the same thing. The difference was in the Man City game, he was recovering quick enough to come back centrally when they lose the ball. That was just one thought. Okay, let's talk about some talking points. Goalkeeper. I think there were 2 goalkeeper glitches or errors, maybe, yesterday. I think, of course, Sanchez, misplaced pass, and Raya. The Raya one, I think there's some debate whether it's an error, whether it's not. What are your thoughts, Dara, about the goalkeeper?
So it's weird. Like Sanchez does that on average one a game, and even in the Arsenal game, he did it in the first half. I don't know if you guys saw that. He did in the first half where he was out of position. But I think like Arsenal fans didn't get their footing. The Arsenal players didn't get their footing on time, and one of our defenders were able to recover. So he did that before, and I guarantee you, watch a lot of Chelsea game, he does that. I don't want to chalk that to immaturity. I think I really want to chalk it to more like players really knowing each other. Because you know who else does that kind of thing once in a while is the City goalkeeper, right? It does it, but the difference between him and Sanchez is that he's been playing with his defenders enough to where they know when to recover. They know, okay, yeah, this guy is going to do this stupid thing in training. Let's go recover for him. And they just don't get punished as much. Now, I feel like Chelsea being a team in transition or a team still getting to know each other, when as a goal, and also too, Sanchez just doesn't have the level of confidence that Emerson, that's his name, right? Anderson has, right?
Edison.
Yeah, so he just doesn't have that level of confidence. So, and also too, I mean, I don't want to bash Sanchez for I don't want to bash him for too long. I think that's something that is going to fix. Individual errors is an evidence of pressure and lack of experience, and those two things just get sorted out in time. So I'm not gonna, unlike most Chelsea fans, are like, oh, they should bench him for the next game. That's not how you build confidence in goalkeepers. Goalkeepers are like strikers. They rely on confidence. They rely on you putting your arm around them and telling them, oh, you're the man, you got this. So for me, it is what it is. That will get fixed. That's not a structural issue. It's more of an individual player and just the team gelling. And that's part of the growing pains of having a new team. Yeah. So it is what it is. Now, Arsenal, on the other hand, I think they can get away with doing things like that just because they've been playing together for a while. And same thing with them too. The is a relatively new goalkeeper. When you're playing from the back, that's also one of the things that happens too. When you play from the back, there's a lot of pressure on you, and it's just a mental thing. So it is what it is.
Toby, Raya versus, I guess it's the same question but different angle. Raya versus Ramsdale.
So I'm in the Raya camp, right?
Okay.
And I have a lot of good Arsenal fans that are friends of mine that are clearly in the Ramsdale camp. I'm in the Raya camp, and I see he made one mistake yesterday, which was the pass that went to Cole Palmer. To me, that's the one mistake he made. And luckily, there wasn't a goal from it. People say he was shaky. I watched the first half again. He had so much of the ball coming back to him, didn't put a foot wrong in the first half. Not one foot wrong. He made one mistake with the Palmer, which was in the second half, that Palmer wasn't able to score. One bad pass. And then the fluke cross hit goal, which goalkeepers have said he was positioned where he was supposed to be and facing across. And Mudryk sliced the ball and it went the other direction. And people are saying it's fine. But Tino came out after the game.
You won't say the same thing. This was Onana or Toby.
No, hold up. Yes,
there's nothing the goalkeeper could have done with that one though.
Wait, but Ayo, don't forget that you asked me about Raya versus Ramsdale.
Yeah.
Do you know when that happened to Ramsdale last season?
I remember.
Okay. Do you know Ramsdale? He had something similar happen to him this season against Fulham, where Saka gave the ball away and he was out and the ball went in.
Yeah.
So I told some Arsenal fans, like, people are pretending it's Alisson we have on the bench, that they're saying Rivers. We don't have an Alisson on the bench who's let's just accept, this is the best goalkeeper in the world.
Yes.
But even he will make mistakes from the back.
He did.
That's what people don't understand, is that when you're playing up this build-up play where your goalkeeper is having 50 touches in one half, a bad pass is a component of two things. One, decision making, and two, the person receiving the pass, were they in the right mindset to receive the pass? That mistake that they say Sanchez made, what was the mistake? He found the player, played it to the player. The player, instead of running towards the ball, allowed Rice to run quicker than him. So whose mistake was it? Was it a decision? Do you blame him for deciding that, I think it was Enzo. Enzo should be smart enough to come to the ball? Or should it be a mistake of decision making that, let me not give Enzo the ball because Enzo is not focusing and Rice is behind him and Rice will run from behind him and get the ball. But everyone's going to say it's the goalkeeper's mistake. So when a pass goes wrong for a goalkeeper, it's two things. Dada said it is either they've not developed their patterns. Like Raya had a similar thing where he gave Rice a through ball against Man City because he was under pressure. So he said, okay, let me play it into space. And then Rice ran and then stopped running, and then the Man City player got the ball. So then people say, it's a bad pass from Raya. But
that's literally what happened in the Galatasaray game, Onana and Casemiro. That's literally what happened. He passed, Casemiro was coming, then stopped. Then the Galatasaray person intercepted, and people said they led to the penalty, and Casemiro getting sent off.
Exactly. So you ask yourself, when a goalkeeper, if we're asking all these goalkeepers to play all these short, intricate passes behind them, and then one bad pass makes you say the player is wrong. Your outfield players, how many bad passes does Zinchenko make in the first half? How many bad Odegaard made the bad pass that led to the fluke cross? That was an Odegaard mistake, but nobody blames a real midfielder for making a bad pass when a goalkeeper's pass doesn't go as intended. So for me, I think Raya is slightly better than Ramsdale in a few things. He's calmer, and he's probably better at decision making, and probably quicker on his feet. And he's more confident in holding the ball and waiting for the passing lane to develop. And so for me, he's playing the game Arteta wants him to play. Raya was not doing these short passes when he was at Brentford, right? Where we see all those stats where he was way better. But the manager wants to play like this. So it's either the defense learns and the midfielders learn, to Dada's point, and they have time and they figure out, okay, when not to do this, when not to do this. Or they do this only 40% of the time and then they figure out another solution. So for me, Raya had one mistake yesterday.
Okay.
And it didn't lead to a goal. Now, can he keep making a mistake because of the Ramsdale controversy, right? If they had sold Ramsdale and bought Raya, nobody would be talking, right? Literally, nobody would be saying anything. But the fact is that we have we have two goalkeepers that are really good. It's not clear. It's not that one is so much better than the other, in my view. There are aspects of Raya's game that are distinctly better than Ramsdale, and there are aspects of Ramsdale's game where you can think he can make some mad saves where you don't expect to make it. But he also falls asleep at home where he drops simple balls and you're like, how did that happen, right? When you were talking about it last year, when I came on the pod, I talked about some of Ramsdale's mistakes and how they cost us. So my point is, he's playing the way the manager wants him to play, which is literally standing next to Gabriel, like a left center defender, and being another option to pass. And Ramsdale is not comfortable doing that. Is it working? I mean, it's not working perfectly, but is it worse than if it was Ramsdale? It's not. I think it's actually slightly better than if it was Ramsdale that was there. So for me, yes, he had one error this game. Luckily, it didn't cost us. And hopefully everybody knows that he needs to do better, and he knows he needs to do better. Now, does Arteta need to give Ramsdale time? I think he needs to give Ramsdale time too, and he needs to honor his word, because for me, it's not Alisson and Ramsdale, right? It's Raya and Ramsdale, and they're both really good, and none of them is doing this passing game to perfection. So either keep working on the training pitch or allow Ramsdale has to play this season for me. He has to play a good number of games because we have to preserve his value. And for me, I think that was the best financial decision the club made, was loaning Raya with the option or to buy him for 30 million, because both goalkeepers are worth 60 to 70 million today. So for me, Arsenal can't lose, other than all the media noise or Ramsdale, Raya, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the season, he'll figure out which is his number one, and whether he activates Raya's clause for 30 million and sells him for 70, 80. I'm sure United is looking for a new goalkeeper, or he sells Ramsdale for 60, 70, 80 as well. And both goalkeepers were bought for 30 and 20 something million. So you now have two goalkeepers that are both good. Anyway.
Okay, let's take comments. Henry says we're back. Okay. That was a shot on target by Drake. I don't know who that is. Put your name. So she's laughing at when that I was trolling, I think. Okay. I think Henry's saying Raya is also aerially superior.
It is.
And stats-wise, Raya is slightly better. I agree. I think the last thing, or the last couple of things, Cucurella, was that a fluke, that performance?
No, it's not. Cucurella has had what, like 4 good games?
Okay.
Nah, not a fluke at all. Yeah, and that's what we've been seeing with Pochettino with a lot of Chelsea players who we've deemed useless. There's been a revival. Now, Cucurella has actually not been a fluke at all. He's been really consistent, and that's really massive for us because a couple seasons ago, there's been a drop in Chelsea performance when we lose Rich James, Chilwell, or a combination of both. I think we probably dropped like 30, 40%. And just being able to have good backup in Gusto and Cucurella, that's really, really massive for us. So yeah, I think it's showing signs of the player that we intended to buy from Brighton. And it's crazy how 4 games can change the profile of a player. So yeah, not a fluke at all. He was good in this game. He was good against Fulham. And then actually they started doing the League Cup. I can't remember who we played during the League Cup. That was a struggle, but yeah, Cucurella is on the come up.
Will you start him over Chilwell? If you went to
You know what's interesting is the way Pochettino likes to play, Cucurella might actually be better because one of the things that he has stated, and the reason why I was playing Colwell as a makeshift left back rather than his preferred center back position is he wants fullbacks that can provide support for Silver. Chilwell sometimes forgets he's a defender because he's used to that back 3 that Chelsea always plays, and he finds himself in the midfield and he's a number 9. I don't think that's what Pochettino wants for his fullbacks. He wants fullback who can go forward but also equally remember to defend. And I think Cucurella had the hardest job yesterday, and that was to keep Saka tamed. And I thought he did a fantastic job doing that. Overall, it was my man of the match. So
yeah, Saka skinned him like 3 times in the last 20 minutes. And
so what?
I said Saka took his lunch like 3 times in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, but
that's okay. You put 2 men on.
To...
You put 2 men on Saka who was coming back from injury. It's fine. Cucurella had a
no.
game.
Like the thing is this: unless you call Saka yourself and you personally ask him, I don't care. You played him. That ain't my problem.
But do you see the cross?
Did you call him? Did you talk to him?
He still got an assist.
Did you,
from your Cucurella?
Yeah. So you say so? What you're telling me is like you were happy with Saka's performance. And also, too, there's something I need to correct you about. Earlier, you said you know a lot of good Arsenal fans. That's an oxymoron. There's nothing like a good Arsenal fan. Happy people.
No, that's fine. I'm not even going to deign to respond to that. It's not it's not worth my response.
But
sorry, to answer your question though, Cucurella is showing sign. Compare Cucurella to. We almost gave him out to United for free. That's how much we did not want him. And now you look back and like, okay, that's a good decision. So it would be a solid, right back and left back replacement. Not like your number 1, but a good replacement. So,
okay, Toby, why doesn't last thing before we move on to that topic? Why doesn't Arteta start? What's his name? Trossard.
So he started him twice this season, I think, and once was as the sole striker, and once in place of Martinelli. And when he started those 2 games, especially when it was a sole strike, I can't remember which game that was, he sucked. And so then, he stunk up the place. And so the question is, what role is he best at? And what's the game state that allows him to shine? Yeah. So don't forget, Arsenal hasn't had all their top 3 attackers like Saka. This was the first game that Martinelli, Jesus and Saka actually started. And Saka was just coming off injury. Arteta said before the game, he's rushing to be fit for the game. He really wants to play the game. We shall see. I don't think he was. Obviously, if you're out for 2 weeks and you just train, There's much sharpness. I think physically he was fine. It was more about, is he match ready for a high intensity game? Now, so I don't think
he wasn't really injured. We knew that. We knew Ateta
no, he was injured.
Ready, pull him out from
No, he was injured. No. No, he was injured. No, I'll bash Ateta for playing him against Lens for like any day long. And you know me, I'm not. I was number one Ateta out, so I will criticize him if I need to. But I do think that Trossard brings certain things to a game. But to be honest, Martinelli strikes fear into every single right back and pins that right back, so they can't do anything. So that's a useful talent to have. I just think question is what's his best position and what's the game state you bring him in to be more effective. So remember, everyone is playing early on in the season. We're all playing 100 minutes. Now, for whatever reason, EPL refs have decided it's no longer 100 minutes. So now it's starting. Every game is now like 95, 96 minutes, which is stupid because nobody asked them to make 100 minutes to start with. So now, what's your game state? Is it first half, second half, and then minute 70 you bring on fresh legs because you have 5 subs? So I think Trossard is I have him as, for him to have a good season, I need him to score 10 goals this season and have like 6-7 assists. And so I think he's going to be a very, very good player. The question is the profile and the opposition. So I think you either go with pace with Martinelli or you go with more of a player that can combine, right? And that's more of a Trossard. But if you don't have your link-up player, if you don't have Jesus there, I'm sorry, Eddie's not going to make Trossard play well. He's not going to make Trossard play well. Eddie just tries to make Eddie play well. So that's the problem, is how you, what phase of game you bring him in and who you bring him in to play with. And so that's why he doesn't always start. But would he get minutes? Oh, you get a ton of minutes this year. This for sure, because he can also play as a false nine. We did it once, it didn't really work. I think it was Palace. I can't remember who we played, but he didn't. I think we even hauled him off at halftime. So, and also he's had fitness issues. The last game, the City game, was it the City game? He started against City, and he came off at halftime for Martinelli, and Arteta said he was injured. So he's been having some fitness issues as well. He came out later on that he had a hamstring issue. So I think it's a bit of both, where game state, 2, he's not fully fit, and then 3, he will not start ahead of Martinelli 9% of the games, but can he have a role in the team? Of course, yeah.
Okay, let me take comments. Okay, I think it's a Kukuruku. That's Umbrella. It's simple. He's a 90-minute player. I guess Henry agrees with you. More impactful as a sub. I still understand why, because he's really one of Arsenal's most skilled player. Facebook user says, put your name beside the Facebook comments. I had wanted to see you all play Havertz and Jorginho together.
So
Massive
that's
signings.
a big.
Massive.
That was a big mistake that Teta made, was not. I think if he started Havertz through the middle and Jesus on the right, we would have had an outlet to go long. We had no outlet to go long against their press. And sometimes people blame the goalkeeper, you can't kick long. Who are you kicking long to? Everybody out there is 5'5". How did only Jesus was able to win any balls, aerial balls. Martinelli was not able to win anything, right? So sometimes your pass completion depends on who you have up front, right? So
True.
I just look at it and I think that was it. I would have done that and I've kept Rice, and I'd have kept, because I think that left eight position on Arsenal this season hasn't worked for any player. It didn't work for Rice yesterday. It hasn't worked for Havertz. So Arsenal is not a team that knows what to do with that left eight position, like in terms of how impactful that player can be. So I would have put in Havertz's best game have come when he played through the center for Arsenal.
Okay. Let me wrap up this section with comments. Yeah, they forced Martinelli back from injury in that game. I concur Saka should have been on the bench, but then again, hindsight is 2020. Let's move on. Let me go to comment back. Let's talk about the World Cup. I mean, they announced recently that they're going to host the World Cup I think it's very interesting. FIFA wants to hold the World Cup in 6 countries across 3 continents. Specifically, I guess I'm just giving context. The first 3 games will be hosted in South America, Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay, in honor for the 100 years of the World Cup, which was 1930. Then after, I think it's hosted by Morocco, Spain, and Portugal. So I think, well, my personal opinion is I feel like FIFA is reaching here. This is like at this point, at what point are you searching for revenues that you have to put something and host a World Cup across 3 continents? Like, where's the logistics? Like, who thought of this idea? So, and I think it's still going to be finally decided next year, but this is what they're proposing, and most likely this is what's going to happen. Who I think Bucci is going to call in for this. Who wants to go first? Thoughts about it? Dada, what are your thoughts?
I thought Toby was going to go first on this one. I have a sense that I might be the minority here.
Okay.
So initially, when I first saw it on the surface, I was like, man, this is such a bad idea, and just naturally. And then I sat back and I thought about it and asked myself, if the World Cup had been hosted in this manner, right? If this was what we did, if this was the default, and then we reverted back to one country, everyone would say, "Oh, this is a way for FIFA to marginalize countries. They'll pick a favorite country to host it." So every time we talk of FIFA, the first thing we think of is revenue and corruption, right? It's like that's the lens in which we view FIFA. And let's not be mistaken. FIFA is a very corrupt organization, probably one of the most corrupt in the world, right? So from that perspective, I can see how this could be a way for you to get more kickbacks, for you to increase because we have a lot of countries, there's a lot of ways you can game the system, right? So putting on my cynical eye, I can see that. I can also see how this can help generate multiple revenue. Now, all sentiments aside, but I do think about this just from, the World Cup is quote unquote a World Cup, right? It should be hosted by the world. So having multiple countries host the World Cup, I actually think it's a good idea because it allows different people to have a piece of the pie. And also too, it just makes it more of a cultural event and a world event rather than just having one country host it. So I get the sentiment there. One thing I'm struggling to see, and to Aya's point, is the logistics, right?
Yeah.
If your country that you're playing 3 games, you have to fly back to another camp, you have to set up camp somewhere else. So I can see the logistical nightmare, right? So I think the first time doing it is going to be a lot of learning curves. It's going to be tough on the players because then they have to do the traveling, and also going to be tough on poorer countries or countries who their FA just doesn't have as much economic backing. So I can see that angle, but just from a pure trying to be inclusive, I can see the reason why as well. So for me, it's a 50-50. Like, I get the sentiment, makes sense. Let's be more inclusive. It will be a logistical nightmare. But after the first World Cup, once we get that experience under our belt, it could really be a good thing going forward, right? You look at Morocco, Portugal, and Spain hosting it. Those countries are quite close to each other, right? You have Africa in the midst, you have Portugal, you have Spain. Folks from Europe can fly in, and those who are in North Africa can also participate in the World Cup. Imagine if it was just in the United States, right? If you live in Qatar, that would be a long flight for you to take. So I see why. I think it makes sense, and it's not a bad idea.
Okay, Toby.
So I think some of it is, let's go back to how this started, right? I think the Spanish and the Portuguese said we'll submit a joint bid.
Yep.
And I think Argentina and Uruguay said they'll submit a joint bid as well. So not all of it is FIFA saying let's break this up among 6 countries. So I do think the joint bidding makes sense because now you have more infrastructure you can work with, and it allows you easier for smaller countries. To Dada's point, it allows them to experience the World Cup. And let's be honest, America is not a country, we're a continent. Like, if America hosts it, that's the same as all of Europe hosting it, right? Just from a landmass and traffic perspective, right? So it's, now Germany hosting it is like Texas hosting it, right? Right? So in a way, you say countries, but some countries are bigger and have more infrastructure than others. So I do think that the fact that some countries are asking to joint bid it is fine. My issue is it doesn't have to be 6 countries, right? You could still have had this joint bid and at least keep everyone in the same hemisphere and keep everyone in the same continent and be done with it, right? And that's fine because you're opening up, allowing smaller countries to participate on the group stages, but I don't understand why we'll be in South America, and then we're going to go to Europe and then pop by in North Africa, right? Yes, even though it's close, Morocco is 30 minutes probably from France, or 30 minutes from Spain by plane. But still, it is three continents, and visa restrictions, travel. Like, it's not easy for people to move around that much. So I think it'll be a mess, but I might be wrong. And FIFA is not the most organized, right? So how would they split all the revenue? Because before, all these host countries knew all this money was coming in, and they had time to plan and invest and build up their stadiums and do everything. Think of South Africa when they hosted it. All that money was coming in. Bam, they got a huge impact. Now you're spreading the impact along around 6 countries. Who gets what? We'll see. If I had trust in FIFA to do the right thing, I'll be like, let's see what happens. I just think it's a little bit too much, right? So then pick, where would you go, right? Would you go to Latin America, or you go to Europe? And then what if you don't want to go to Morocco for group games? It's just weird.
It's a farce. It's not weird.
Let's see a video.
My back is a mess. I've got a lot of stuff behind me, but that's fine.
It's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. World Cup hosting is now a participation trophy. You can get it. Everyone gets one. You get one. You get one. You get one. Everyone gets one. It doesn't make any sense. Because if it was 3 countries, you could say, okay, we'll put some groups here, we'll put some groups here, we'll put some groups here. And then you all come and maybe play some knockout games closer to each other. But they're going to have 3 kickoff games, opening games in South America. And then they'll all shift across. So the South American teams that played in South America now have some home advantage. Then they'll travel to play 3, 4, maybe 10 days later, and then the whole world will be waiting for them because they need time, because it's a whole different time zone, it's a whole different hemisphere. The whole idea of playing the World Cup in one location or close to each other was because everyone plays in the same environmental conditions in a short period of time. Yep. No one has, different set of atmospheric conditions. So that alone makes it a farce, because if Argentina, if you play now Uruguay, Bolivia, which have a far different altitude,
high elevation,
exactly, compared to Morocco, it's quite different. It's totally different. You've played a totally different World Cup. So it's fine if they want to host it around 3 countries. The 6 countries also makes it weird because you have 6 automatic qualifiers. Automatic. Okay, yeah, they're going to increase the World Cup. I don't know if it's 28, 30, they're going to increase to 48 games, which of course now also means World Cup qualification is also now a participation trophy. So what all FIFA is doing now is trying to maximize income. But you got to think about player health and other things, because it doesn't make sense. If I got to wake up at, for example, 9 p.m. to watch games in Argentina, then in the same World Cup, I got to wake up I got to watch games at 3 p.m. Is it the same World Cup? So that's just it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and then which broadcaster takes the rights? Because broadcasters for the rights for a time slot.
That's right.
Yeah,
we're covering the World
that
Cup.
Makes sense.
So we're covering the World Cup in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night.
Yeah, that will mess up their scheduling. Toby, to Buchi's point, I have a feeling that the streaming companies of the world will be the one that will bid for this World Cup. So if you're Apple TV or YouTube TV, where you can just dedicate a streaming platform to the World Cup, this could also represent a shift from traditional. So the World Cup would just be like a Netflix subscription, where you essentially just, you have your YouTube TV and then maybe you pay $20 for the World Cup and it's just streaming on that platform. Because you're right, if you're ESPN or you're ABC or one of these channels, that could really impact your broadcasting schedule. Because you have to move. Yeah. So I won't be surprised if Amazon comes into play and say, you know what, we'll take on the rights, right? We'll just add it on to Amazon TV, and it will just be a separate streaming service that they offer. It will be a way for them to boost their streaming revenue. So it could be a shift too. I wouldn't be surprised if one of those large companies are also pulling the strings on this. So that'll be to be seen. Because yeah, you're right. It's not suited for traditional broadcasting nations platforms at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's
they
also
need the money,
yeah.
right?
It's
Think
also
of
not
how much.
suited.
Oh, go
It's
ahead,
also not
Buki.
suited for fans.
Plus,
You
we have
don't
suckers, man.
you
We
don't
do
want to go.
whatever.
No, yeah, but you gotta think about the guys that go to, like, when Japan and South Korea co-hosted, people were able to jump between the two countries because they're quite close to each other. So the guys that want to experience the World Cup, that's really, the guys that join that bandwagon, they're going to fly. For example, if you're from an African nation and you've got to play Argentina or Uruguay, you got to fly to Uruguay with Nigerian team, play that game. Then let's say the rest of the games are in Morocco. You got to fly back to Morocco instead of just making one flight and stay in one place. You got to fly back. So it's not fair. It's not. But guess what? I'm not saying it won't work, because Dada, you hit the nail on the head. The money is on TV. So go ahead, Toby. Sorry for the
No,
interruption.
no worries. I was just wondering, every World Cup you see, and let's take the American audience. You see ABC, NBC, all these guys, they go set up like live broadcasting, commentary. They pay fans, they pay pundits to go and give coverage, give insights, interview players. Then you have the Al Jazeera, you have all the Arabic nations do the same thing. The African countries do the same thing. BBC will do the same thing. You have them, Gary Neville, all of them with. So who's going to own all? Like, at some point they have to pick and choose. And when's their audience going to watch it, right? Because they're all trying to bring it to their own home audience. That okay, BBC will have this for the UK audience. Is on this time. The Americans will have it for the American audience. And I don't know, man.
So
I think
the
you're going to always
workaround
have
to
it.
that. So I was going to say the workaround to that. What they might do is they might do a joint partnership. So if you are a South American broadcaster, what you just do is you sell the rights of your own broadcasting to ABC, and then you just do a partnership between Europe. So I think that's how they work around it. So rather than you sending your entire crew, you just send maybe one American there to kind of like whoever is doing the thing in Brazil, and they'll just do a joint partnership where they'll buy the
Possible.
rights to their own.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be fun, but I mean, I don't think FIFA cares.
Yeah, they don't. Let me take comment quickly. Henry says not a fan of it. Asha says it also allows fans of other teams to attend the non-popular games. Forget player health. You guys have been talking about it non-stop, but the same players have not been taking care of themselves. Compare Hazard or Reese to Thiago Silva. Please post your name behind your comment.
Okay. What's the difference?
Yeah, that comment came from another angle.
Yeah, but
that was
let me
Messi.
answer that quickly. People like to use exceptions sometimes to justify the out of the ordinary. They go and look at, but the exception never becomes the norm. For every Hazard and Gerrard, and Cristiano Ronaldo, Reese, Thiago Silva, that your average Van Dijk, John Terry, Vidic, Puyol, guys that 35, 36, they're done. Yes, the guys like Modric, they come and go, but they're not the norm. And then when people bring up the worst cases of these guys, like Hazard, because he was in discipline, he's not taking care of himself. But players never took care of themselves. It's always happened. A few players never did. But the average footballer now is far fitter and far much disciplined and committed to the sport than ever before. So these same players don't take care of themselves is unfair. Players do. They generally do.
They take care of themselves.
Yeah, they just that the game has improved so much in pace and that and there's too many games. There's too much travel. It's just the truth.
I think there's just too many.
Yeah. I'm not against opening the game up. What we are trying to understand sometimes as fans is, why do we need a new football tournament every year when most of them are still perpetuating the problems that always happen, which was the few guys always tend to win it. The game is not totally. If you're trying to open the game up and balance it out, it's let regional competitions play in off years. Every 4 years is a World Cup. Try and convince every other person to play the odd year after the World Cup, like the same summer. Everyone plays a Euro, an African tournament, a nation tournament. Then guys rest because they're still an Olympics,
Yeah.
and they're still young. You're like, so, but I don't think of it if it's possible. These guys will stop fighting for games. Well, we'll see what happens because everyone wants a piece of this pie.
Okay, we're at 15 minutes, so we're going to breeze through this because I feel like this is probably a breeze through top. We're just going to breeze through this topic. Who is your Ballon d'Or and best under 21? It's just everybody can just mention theirs and why. I think it's very simple. Dada.
You always call me first now. Under 21, as Jubilian.
Yeah.
Ballon d'Or, Messi, I guess.
I'm happy you give him his credit. Toby.
He guessed. He didn't say for sure.
Ballon d'Or is Messi. He deserves it. Under 21, I'm gonna go with Saka. I don't think he'll win it.
I don't think he's on the list. He's not on the list. He's on the list of Ballon d'Or. He's not on the list of 21.
Why?
Yeah.
He's under 21.
I think he's already.
He's past it now.
He's past it Golden
now?
Boy, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I'll give it to Jude. Oh, what's that? No, what's Gavi? What's that guy in
Gavi in Barcelona. So I'll give nominees are Balde, Bellingham, Camavinga, the popular nominees. Balde, Bellingham, Camavinga, Gavi, Højlund, Musiala.
How about Musiala?
How did Højlund get on the list?
Hey, he's good, man.
How about Musiala?
With 9 goals. Wait, he got on the list with 9 goals in the season.
He's one of the highest goal scorers in the Euro qualifiers.
Yeah.
Who?
He's like
Holland?
in the top 4-5. Yeah, he's just like 20.
Yeah, it's fine. He had 9 goals in his pro league. Please give it to Gavi because that has already said Bellingham. That's my vote.
Bushi?
It's Bellingham. If you wanted to drag someone else, you probably drag Musiala. That's about it. It's Messi. I'm very old school. You win the World Cup, best player in the World Cup, MVP is better than team effort Champions League victory. I mean, yeah, he's not the reason they won it, by the way, Haaland. He's not the main reason they won it. The other guy stepped up. He was, so in the Champions League, to be fair, the knockout stages.
Postseason, yeah. Haaland had it in the postseason. He's in NBA. Haaland is
He faded. So he's not the best. He wasn't the best player in that tournament. They won they were going to win the league anyway, with or without him. It's
I don't think City would have won the league without Haaland though.
Yeah,
I don't think they would have won the league without Haaland.
That's fair enough.
I think they would have won the Champions League without Haaland though.
They could, yes, because of Champions League, yes. Because
I don't think they would have won anything without that guy last season.
It's got to be something good. So, yeah.
Well, because it's not just his goals, it's what he does to the defenders that allows the other people to play as well. He may not score, but Haaland is on the pitch. You put 2 men on him, or you're focused.
Just put fear in you.
Yeah,
fear.
That's right.
My pick is easy. Everybody knows Messi. Best player in the World Cup. 63 goals and assists in all competition. That's name, guys. 63. That's crazy. Let's put some respect on Leo Messi's name. At 8:35, Bellingham. I think Gavi comes a close second, or Pedri, either or. But Pedri was injured a lot, so I'll say Gavi. Gavi comes a close second. It was the main reason that Barcelona won the La Liga. So, Kudos and Donkey. And my kudos is going to be more. I think I posted it before the pod. It's a tribute to Sir Bobby Charlton. Only one Sir Bobby. My opinion, the greatest British or English footballer of all time. 3 Premier League titles, or I guess called Old English titles. 1 FA Cup, 1 European Cup, 1 World Cup. He was part of the Bosby Babe, one of the few survivors of the Bosby Babe crash in '58. Came back, was part of it that rebuilt United, won the league title, won the Champions League. First English club to win Champions League at that time. Yeah, British, first English club. So yeah, Bobby Charlton tributes. I think they didn't say the cause of his death past 2 days ago, or yesterday, but everybody suspects it's his dementia that he was diagnosed with from 2020. So that's my kudos to Bobby Charlton. Memories live long for sure. Anybody else kudos?
Yeah, I think you speak for me too. There's
Okay.
no need to add much to that.
Toby, who's your kudos this week?
Yeah, I mean, I just because I'm an Arsenal fan, I'll probably give it to Trossard. But it's not like that game was spectacular. I mean, our opponents are noisy neighbors who came to play a bruising game and sit back and just gum up the work. So I'll still give it to Trossard though.
Okay. Nada. Who's your kudos? Don't get caught up in Toby.
Take the bait.
My kudos will go to Pochettino. No, not Cucurella. I mean, Cucurella has been deserving of a lot of kudos. Actually, that's my daughter's favorite Chelsea player, Cucurella. So I'm happy he's playing much better now because she's always liked him. Because it would have sucked if our best player is horrible and not playing. But yeah, Pochettino, I think he did well this week, setting up the players well. Those individual errors, I don't know if it's down to coaching, but yeah, I like what I see.
Okay.
So are you Pochettino in, just for the record?
Me, I've always been pro Pochettino, bro.
I didn't know. I didn't know. I was just.
What do you mean? I don't play the games you play, man.
No, I didn't know. I'm just asking.
I'm not
why
like
so
you.
defensive? Why are you so sensitive, dude? Simple question. Don't let your trauma come out so much. It's just a simple question. Are you Pochettino in? No. Yes or no?
No, now you used to support PSG. Now
I didn't know. So yes, you are Pochettino.
But no, when you used to support PSG and it was your manager.
Pochettino. Are you still size load in or
always like? Dude, look at the name, bro. I'm not like you, man. I don't switch sides.
Hey, do you remember last season when this guy you switched from Bowley last season?
From where?
Dude, there's so many posts on Facebook where you were like,
me. I've always been size low.
Donkey of the week. Donkey of the week.
So what?
Who's the donkey of the week? Dada, the donkey of the week. Let's just
that. I was gonna say Arsenal fans for thinking. I'm kidding. You know what? I mean, Sanchez really. Like I felt like even though that goal was not 100% him, it could have done better. So I felt like Sanchez for me.
Toby, the donkey of the week.
It's a rough one. No. I mean, coaches don't always get it right perfectly. I'm not going to blame Arteta for anything here. Donkey of the week is probably the Arsenal fans that were shouting Ramsdale's name when Raya made that one mistake. Like Ramsdale didn't just make a mistake 3 weeks ago against Fulham. So to me, that's just stupidness. Like you don't insult your own players when they're on the game and create more narrative for them, Gary Neville's, who are looking for a narrative on Arsenal to talk about because that's all they can talk about.
No, it's
you
not.
Don't give them off you.
Please.
No, it's true. It's true. Let's be honest.
Beginning of season.
No, I know he said that, but I'm saying like the media always needs a narrative on a game.
Yeah.
So they've come up with this Raya Ramsdale thing and they're making it a big issue. And even when Ramsdale was celebrating a Raya save, what that idiot in Liverpool, Carragher, went to say he was faking it, up to the point that Ramsdale's dad had to get upset with Carragher. I was like, stop it. Like, you're just being an idiot. I know you're a pundit, but shut up. So my own donkey of the week is the Arsenal fans that were shouting for Ramsdale in the middle of a game against Chelsea.
Yeah, my donkey of the week is the referees again. Another week, another controversy. It's getting ridiculous. Referees make mistakes, but what we actually ask is for consistency of some things. If you're going to make a mistake in a game, a major mistake, make it for both sides. If you're going to send Ashley Young off, you got to send Konate off.
Yeah.
It's just a very straightforward matter. you can't give this guy a second chance after you already sent someone off.
Yeah.
It's getting ridiculous to the point that referees never face. They don't seem to face too much. What do you call it? Consequences for some of their actions. We give them too much leeway. So if we're gonna give them that much leeway, then we need to help them. And we don't know this thing about yellow card should not be reviewable. If it's a yellow card offense, it should be ref should be told, especially when the guy should be sent off. But go
Can I
ahead.
add something?
Yes.
I think, okay, no, jokes aside, the EPL has the worst referees in the world, and it's not going to change until they scrap. And I know I was teasing Liverpool fans for carrying PGMOL's header, but the fact is that institution is corrupt from top to bottom. It's a good old boys club. They protect one another. They're not professional. They need to go, because we all watch World Cup, we all watch Champions League game, we all watch Euros, and these people can get it right. There's no reason why EPL should have the best product and have the worst referees. So until that changes, we'll be discussing this like literally every week. There'll be no consistency. They'll change how they referee the game. They'll change when VAR intercepts it. They'll release new guidelines. They'll make excuses for their friends. They'll stand down people for 1 week and then bring them back and not tell you what guidelines they put in place. Well, EPL is going to be full of controversy until someone just says, KPMG needs to audit you people for all your corruption and you all need to go. Because we can go and hire referees. Like, why can't EPL just pay a contract to Spanish referees or whatever and say top referees come and referee here? We're the best product. We have the most earnings. We'll pull all the best referees from all the world. Same way we'll pull all the players and get rid of all these English referees that can't do anything.
If you notice, it's because you can't do that, because technically it's like the same way you can't transfer kids, because you can just go and buy the best kids at 9 years old, but FIFA makes it harder. The parents have to move. FAs train referees. There's a scarcity of refs in every country, because most kids take up refereeing as a second option. So you don't expect the FA in Spain, the Spanish FA, to train up a referee, get him up, and he becomes a good professional, and he now moves to England, his prime.
Why not? They do it for players.
How did English referees go to Saudi Arabia to referee?
No, but they were only going and coming back. They're still working.
That's fine. Let them go and come back every Sunday,
yeah.
Saturday.
No, but every Sunday the Spanish league has to hold. Because those guys go during the week. Yeah, so I think
one hour. We're at the top of the hour. My Donkey is the Man City fans that were singing songs, mocking Sir Bobby Charlton and Munich air disaster. I know Man City as a club have apologized for trying to track them down, but yeah, that's just terrible. I mean, come on now. Yeah, we know we're rivals, but like we should draw a line. So that's where we end the pod. We've come to the end. OG Gunner, Size Lord, Dada, Fasi, Henry, Asha in the comments, everybody. Thanks. And we are out.
All right.